Buenas noches, soy Lourdes Evans, estamos leyendo The Midnight Library de Matt Haigg y hoy vamos a leer Wild and Free. She reached the keyboard, sat down on the stool and brought the microphone a little closer. Thank you, San Paulo, she said, we love you. And Brazil roared back. This, it seemed, was power, the power of fame. Like those pop icons she had seen on social media, who could say a single word and get a million likes and shares. Total fame was when you reached the point where looking like a hero or genius or god required minimal effort. But the flip side was that it was precarious. It could be equally easy to fall and look like a devil or a villain or just an arse. Her heart raced, as if she were about to set foot on a tightrope. She could see some of the faces in the crowd now, thousands of them, emerging from the dark. Tiny and strange, the clothes' bodies almost invisible. She was staring out at 20,000 disembodied heads. Her mouth was dry. She could hardly speak, so wondered how she was going to sing. She remembered Dan mock wincing as she'd sung for him. The noise of the crowd subsided. It was time. Right, she said. Here is a song you might have heard before. This was a stupid thing to say, she realized. They had all paid tickets for this concert, presumably because they had heard a lot of these songs before. It's a song that means a lot to me and my brother. Already the place was erupting. They screamed and roared and clapped and chanted. The response was phenomenal. She felt momentarily like Cleopatra, an utterly terrified Cleopatra. Adjusting her hands into position for E-flat major, she was momentarily distracted by a tattoo on her weirdly hairless forearm, written in beautifully angled calligraphic letters. It was a quote from Henry David Thoreau, "All good things are wild and free." She closed her eyes and vowed not to open them until she had finished the song. She understood why Chopin had liked playing in the dark so much. It was so much easier that way. Wild, she thought to herself, free. As she sang, she felt alive, even more alive than she had felt swimming in her Olympic champion body. She wondered why she had been so scared of this, of singing to a crowd. It was a great feeling. Ravi came over to her at the end of the song while they were still on stage. That was fucking special, man. He shouted in her ear. Oh, good, she said. Now let's kill this and do how. She shook her head and spoke into the microphone hurriedly before anyone else had a chance to. Thank you for coming, everybody. I really hope you all had a nice evening. Get home safely. Get home safely, Ravi said in the coach on the way back to the hotel. She hadn't remembered him being such an arse. He seemed unhappy. What was wrong with that? She wondered out loud. Hardly your normal style, wasn't it? Well, bit of a contrast to Chicago. Why? What did I do in Chicago? Ravi laughed. Have you been lobotomized? She looked at her phone. In this life she had the latest model. A message from Easy. It was the same message she'd had in her life with Dan in the pub. Not a message at all, but a photo of a whale. Actually, it might have been a slightly different photo of the whale. That was interesting. Why was she still friends with Easy in this life and not in her root life? After all, she was pretty sure she wasn't married to Dan in this life. She checked her hand and was relieved to see a totally naked ring finger. Nora supposed it was because she had already been super famous with the labyrinth before Easy decided to go to Australia. So Nora's decision not to go may have been more understandable. Or maybe Izzy just liked the idea of a famous friend. Izzy wrote something under the picture of a whale. All good things are wild and free. She must have known about the tattoo. Another message came through now from her. Hope Brazil was a blast. I'm sure you rocked it. And thanks 10 million for sorting out the text for Brisbane. I'm totally stoked, as we Gold Coasters say. There were a few emojis of whales and hearts and thanking hands and a microphone and some musical notes. Nora checked her Instagram. In this life, she had 11.3 million followers. And bloody hell, she looked amazing. Her naturally black hair had a kind of white stripe in it. Vampiric makeup. And a lip piercing. She did look tired, but she supposed that was just a result of living on tour. It was a glamorous kind of tired, like Billie Eilish's Cool on End. She took a selfie and saw that while she didn't look exactly like the excessively styled and filtered photos on her feed, which had been for magazine shoots, she did look cooler than she ever imagined she could look. As with her Australian life, she also put poems up online. The difference with this life, though, was that each poem had about 500,000 likes. One of the poems was even called Fire, but it was different to the other one. She had a fire inside her. She wondered if the fire was to warm her or destroy her. Then she realized a fire had no motive. Only she could have that. The power was hers. A woman sat next to her. This woman wasn't in the band, but she exuded importance. She was about 50 years old. Maybe she was the manager. Maybe she worked for the record company. She had the air of a strict mom about her, but she began with a smile. Stroke of genius, she said. The Simon and Garfunkel thing. You're trending across South America. Cool. Have posted about it from your accounts. She'd said this like it was perfectly normal thing. Oh, right, okay. There's a couple of last minute press things tonight at the hotel. And then tomorrow it's an early start. We fly to Rio first thing, then 8 hours of press, all at the hotel. Rio, you're up to speed with the week's tour schedule, right? Kind of. Could you just remind me again? She sighed, with good humor, as if Nora, not knowing the tour schedule, was totally in character. Sure. Rio tomorrow. Tonight's. Then the final night in Brazil, Porto Alegre. Then Santiago, Chile, Buenos Aires, then Lima. And that's the last leg of South America. Then next week it's the start of the Asia leg. Japan, Hong Kong, the Philippines, Taiwan. Peru, we're famous in Peru. Nora, you've been to Peru before, remember last year? They went out of their minds, all 15,000 of them. It's the same place. The race course, sure. Yeah, I remember. Was a good night, really good. That's what this life probably felt like, she realized. One big race course. But she had no idea if she was the horse or the jockey in that analogy. Ravi tapped the woman on the shoulder. Joanna, what time's that podcast tomorrow? Oh, damn. Actually, it's tonight now. Timings. Sorry. Forgot to say. But they only really have to speak to Nora. So you can get an early night if you want. Ravi shrugged, dejected. Sure, yeah. Joanna sighed. Don't shoot the messenger. Though it's never stopped you before. Nora wondered again where her brother was. But the tension between Joanna and Ravi made it feel wrong to ask something she should so obviously know. So she stared out of the window as the coach drove along the four-lane highway. The glowing taillights of cars and lorries and motorbikes in the dark like red and watching eyes. Distant skyscrapers with a few tiny squares of light again against a humid backdrop of dark sky and darker clouds. A shadowy army of trees lined the sides and middle of the highway, splitting the traffic into the two directions. If she was still in this life tomorrow evening, she would be expected to perform an entire concert's worth of songs, most of which she didn't actually know. She wondered how quickly she could learn the set list. Her phone rang, a video call. The caller was Ryan. Joanna saw the name and smirked a little. You'd better get that. So she did, even though she had no idea who this Ryan was, and the image on the screen seemed too blurry to recognize. But then he was there, a face she had seen in movies and imaginings many times. Hey babe, just checking in with a friend. We're still friends, right? She knew the voice too, American, rugged, charming, famous. She heard Joanna whispering to someone else on the coach. She's on the phone with Ryan Bailey.